Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to be building a seawall. So I had these pieces kicking around the Plunder Den. They're actually parts of the stone temple that I originally built in one of the earliest episodes I did on this channel. Actually, the stone temple, that Aztec Mayan temple I did, was supposed to be part of an arena. And these walls were part of that arena. And at some point I've decided to abandon that project. It doesn't mean I'm not going to go back to it. I probably will. But I just had these pieces kicking around. I used a tinfoil ball there and texturized them already. They already have a black primer coat on them, and they're ready to go. But I just kind of put them aside, didn't know really what to do with them. I was kind of deciding what to do with this episode this week. And I kind of just had them, at the corner eye, I saw them. I'm like, I wonder if I could do something with those pieces. They've been kicking around here for a while. So I kind of put them on the table, and I realized that they're kind of the same heights as my docks. And I go, you know what? I bet you that would be a good seawall. Because they're already stone walls, they're already texturized. All you gotta do is, paint these up and add them to another piece where I rubble and stuff and make a stone, like a sea wall. So that came out of just looking at a piece of old scraps. So never throw out your scraps. You never know when you're going to need them for something else. So that's what we decided to do in this week. So let's take a look at the finished product, and I'll show you what I mean. So really, if you look on the side here, this L here, all the way through here, that was the piece that I had built before. The rest of this is all, built in this episode. And I hadn't painted it. It was just black. And really this is just two pieces of insulation foam glued together. That's it. That's all it is. I decided to go heavy into light effects again in this paint. So the painting tutorial, added some foliage on here. We built some docks on here. And really happy with these seawalls. So I made two. So originally I was going to make something with like a dock in the middle, kind of inspired by actually Pirates of the Caribbean. They had a scene where they had this kind of stone walls with these lanterns, and the docks went off into the town. But I kind of wanted to make mine more into the bay, and kind of like a stone wall or a relief wall from the ocean. So we got that section, and then we have our second section over here. So it was wide enough so, you can sail a ship through it and, make it a real versatile piece of terrain. And this would be a really, more for an established port than it would be, but I thought this would be a really neat idea to even flush out more of the Plunder Plunder and expand on that project. All right, so that's what we're going to be building in this week's project. So before we get down to the table and start on that, I just want to do a brief update of the global campaign. So I've been kind of up and down. The English has been kind of keeping up with the Spanish. So hopefully we only got a few more weeks left, about 3 weeks left to go, and the campaign's done. So there's lots of potential prizes to win. I do recommend that you check down at the Blood and Pigment page or the Firelock Games page. And on the campaign, and get the latest and greatest of the prizes that you can win at the end of this campaign, and kind of really focus on this next few weeks. You could really pick up some great things. So speaking of picking up great things, Firelock Games is right now having another promotion during this campaign. So they're having 15% off till August 22nd on all Blood and Plunder, Blood and Valor, and Oak and Iron products. So this is a good opportunity to get involved in the game and save a bundle on it. So I just recommend check out Firelock Games store. I know I am. I got some things I want to get, so I'm definitely going to check that out and take advantage of that 15% off. All right, so that's pretty well covered it. I just want to show you Week 13's prize. So the Port of Plunder. You get this medium dock foreground medium dock set. So remember that's the prize I'm going to be giving away in Week 13 at the end of the week. So make sure you check out, like I said, the Blood and Pigment page and Firelock Games page and see what you need to do to win that. And I'll announce the winner at the end of Week 13. So we're Week 12. This week we're going into fortifications. So you need to play, it's called Fortify. So you need to play with fortifications to get those extra points. So that's pretty much it, everybody. let's get down to the table and let's start painting and let's start crafting. Okay, so we'll start by looking at some of the materials that I used to build this project. So that's that stone wall I was talking about. So you can see it's just two pieces of insulation foam glued together. And I have that little nub on the end there. I was actually planning on putting some kind of figurehead there when I was doing that arena. But it'll work good for what we're doing here, like a staircase going off the wall. So then I realized I probably need a few places where the lantern's going to fit. So I just, got a couple more pieces of insulation foam. This is for the rubble out front, so you need some more foam for that. That's a dollar store foam board it's sitting on. You got some assorted palm trees that I got from Amazon. We got some matchsticks. I got some dowels. I didn't actually end up using that long grass, but I did use some tufts and some flocking. And then we got, these are a bunch of leftover bricks that I had from other previous projects. You got some coffee stir sticks, some balsa wood. That's pretty much what we're going to need for this project. So this is, I started cutting these large chunks of insulation foam, and I really wanted some larger boulders. I made some medium-sized ones, and I already have small ones on that plate that I had from previous projects, so I just needed to make some large and medium-sized ones. And then, of course, I stick them in the coffee tin as usual. So here's some that I haven't shooken up just so you can see what they look like. Before I stuck them in the tin, I did it for about 2 to 3 minutes. And I did a little bit longer because they're a little bigger chunks to get them smoother. And these are some that I've already completed, just so you know what they look like when they're done. All right, so then I was deciding on where I was going to place this wall on the dollar store foam board. I wanted one side to be flat. Because that's where the ships are going to come through, or I was originally thinking maybe docks or something like that. So I definitely wanted it to be flat on the one side, and the other side is going to be kind of a staircase going down off side of the wall. So now I'm going to address the palm trees. So these are plastic trees from Amazon. I had to do a little with the hobby knife and sandpaper and get rid of some of the edgings on it. You can see where the mold lines are on there, so I wanted to remove some of that. Plus, these ones don't come with bases from Amazon, so I had to use a piece of foam. I didn't just sticking them into a rock. Use some hot glue and glued them in place. So as far as the rest of that, I used some white tacky glue and glued that as well. And then I plan on doing large boulders first, and then the smaller ones on top of that and in front. That's just kind of how I wanted to stack. That's how you would see stacked boulders. You'd see the bigger ones as the base and then smaller ones around it. So that's how I want to lay it out on there. All right, so this is after I hot glued everything in and white glued the wall, and you get kind of ready to add the stones. And I kind of mentioned just in the last section there that we're going to put the large ones first and the smaller ones second. So I'm going to use that white glue and glue them in. I didn't really have any set pattern except for the fact that I put the larger ones in first. So I kind of just got it in different stages here for you, just so you can see how I kind of laid them in. And how I started. You can see around the trees, I definitely did cover a lot of the bases of it, just to hide it. And those are all pretty well the large stones are in. And now I'm going to hit those smaller stones and add those in there as well. Just it looks more realistic if you add smaller stones in there. And then I decided to add some rubble in there. I put some broken up barbecue skewers and popsicle sticks and some dowels just to add a little more interest to it. Like there's some scrapped wood that's, came up to the wall. And I added a few stones to these pillars just to add a little bit of interest to where the lantern's going to sit. So let's take a look how I built these lanterns. So that's really just insulation foam Just shaped it in the shape of a lantern. Got some cardstock here that I'm going to use to frame out the lantern itself. And then I have some of those square hobby wood. Everything's going to be glued together with white glue. And the square pieces are just essentially a top and bottom of the lantern. I do add some circular pieces to the top of that as well, just to kind of complete the look. So here's after I've completed everything. Everything's glued together, and that's what you should have when you're done. So it's a pretty convincing looking lantern, especially after I paint it. Right now, it looks like wood, but we're gonna get it painted up. So then I started preparing the dowels for the docks on the back. This is similar to the docks that I built in the previous videos, just carving up these dowels to give it a texturalized look so it doesn't look like a dowel, so it looks more like timbers. And then I'm going to glue these skinny pieces to the large pieces, and those are going to be kind of the framing of that dock system behind the wall. So I just want to point this step out. Before putting those dowels on, you want to straighten your board out. So it starts to warp because of the stuff I glued on the top. So use that craft paint, paint the bottom and the edges, and that will bend the board the right way again. Now, you could use MDF board, but I like to use dollar store foam board. It's just cheaper and easier to use, and you don't have to saw or cut it or anything like that. You can just use a X-Acto blade. So I'm just showing you with the dowels there that I'm going to plan on gluing them in the back. But you want it to be flat before you start gluing them on, right? So I hot glued those on first, the dowels, before I started putting this balsa wood framing together. I really kind of just did a lot of the early stage framing with a hot glue gun. More because I'm impatient. You could just use white glue at this stage, but it takes a little longer, right? So I just glued these together with hot glue at the beginning. And then when I started adding the popsicle stick detail to the tops of the docks, I actually used white glue for that part. So you got kind of a combination of hot glue and white glue to glue this together. So again, the popsicle sticks there, texturize them as well. Give them a texture on them using a hobby knife. And I've shown that in several dock videos where I built docks. So I'm just showing you that this is after I've kind of glued it together. You can see there's just a few sections that are open. That's kind of where the where the dowels are. So those are the last pieces because I had to kind of custom cut them to fit around the dowels. So I left them to the end. All right, so this is after everything's glued on. The docks are all completed. Everything's looking pretty good here. Notice I added that a few pieces on the side for a staircase. I didn't kind of mention that in the video, but I built that as well. Just to have a staircase coming off the one side. So, and then I'm going to get my trusty old brush, and we're going to black coat everything here. So this is kind of the start of the painting tutorial. And we're just going to cover everything in black paint. So it was kind of actually tricky because the way I shaped everything, it took a while to actually cover this. It was all in black paint. I also did the bases of the trees because I want to hide that ugly plastic that it comes in. We're actually going to eventually paint the entire trees in this video because you don't want it to look like a plastic tree. So you have to kind of cover it with paint. So then we're going to move to real brown, and you've seen me do this in several videos. This is the standard primer that I use. So we got, and I kind of dry brushed that and smeared in some areas. Again, I've done another video so you can see how I did that. And you can see I lightened the center of the docks again, just so I get that weathered look. So we're going to move to bark brown, is usually the next color. And just note that I did the trees bases too, the stems of the trees as well. So you're kind of just hitting everything except for the top of the tree. We're gonna address that a little bit later here. So this is after I've added the bark brown, and I'm just showing you I added more to the center again to get that weathered look. So then I'm going to move into Pablo. Again, another standard color that I use, just to add a little highlights on everything on this piece. I didn't do as much on the top, but I did a little bit. You can see I put a little bit where the, again, adding another layer to that weathering effect on the docks. And again, I've shown this in other videos on how to do that. Just refer to the dock video if you want more details on how to paint it. And then we move to camel. So camel, really, I'm going to be focused on the stonework. I did a little bit on the stems of the trees, a little bit on the ends of the timbers that are holding up the docks. You can see I just kind of hit a few different areas. I didn't add a whole lot to the top of the dock, just a little bit. But now we're going to address that with yellow ochre and real brown. So I kind of mix those two together, and that's my base color on my docks, and then I add just yellow ochre on top to highlight it. And then we're going to address the stone with my standard colors: desert yellow, skeleton bone. We got necrotic flesh and mummy robe. So those are the colors I use to do my stonework. And then I add the skeleton horde contrast paint, and we're going to also add Agrax Earth Shader on there as well. So those are going to be on everything on here just to kind of give it a more weathered look throughout the entire piece. So this is after I've added all those washes. We've completed highlighting the docks. And we kind of addressed all those different areas on there. I kind of did the mummy robe at the very end after I added the shaders, just to give it a dry brush and give it a stick out that stone a little bit more. So now we're going to address these lanterns. So that's moon dust, really light, dynamic yellow. We got lava orange. Those are the colors I used. I've done it for windows on my ships and lanterns in the past. I've shown on this channel. I want to do the top of it in gunmetal, that lantern, and then Agrax Earth Shader just to kind of dirty it up a little bit after I'm done. And I wanted to address the painting of the lantern first before I added the light effects on the rocks. Alright, so this is after everything is completed, and now we're going to address the tops of the trees. So the trees look plasticky, so we have to cover that up. So I'm going to use this angel green as a dark undertone first. Then we're going to add some commando green, jungle green, and add some more of that moon dust on the tips, just to add it look like some of the plant life is dying. Now the drake tooth is to highlight some more of the stone and the tops of those timbers again. And then we're going to address the wood with some speed paints, dark wood, that black, and that hardened leather. And we're just going to kind of add those to the woodwork there just to give it a little more look to it. And the edges of the docks, I was going to add a little dirtiness to that. So now we're going to just show you the highlighting of the rocks to give that light effect. So I've already completed that one, and now I'm just going to show you a little bit how I did this on the other pieces. So I use that dynamic yellow and lava orange. Really, those are kind of the two colors I used. I used a little bit of moon dust. But not as much as the other two. And I kind of just used a mixture of the colors together. And then grim black for the shadows. So you're kind of doing a combination of the two. So you can see that all I did was I started hitting the edges of everything on here, wherever I think the light would hit first. I hit with that bright yellow. And that's kind of what you want to do here. You just kind of want to hit all the areas you think the light would hit first with the brightest color. And then you kind of fade in the other oranges and or mixtures of the yellow and oranges to the rest. And I kind of just worked this over a few times until I was happy with the transition from the bright yellow to the darker orange. And that really gives you your glow effect. Now the black is for doing on the opposite side or where you think the light wouldn't hit at all. It actually creates a shadow, so it would be darker, right? And that helps you sell the whole glowing effect, having shadows and the brightness of the light. I did add a little bit of light going up the top of the lantern as well. All right, so this is pretty much after we've done that paint job. And you can see, it's just combinations of yellows and oranges and some blacks to get it. I did carry it over to the back of the dock too. Just to, there's a bit of a glow on the dock as well. So now we have to address underneath the docks. I didn't want to leave it just plain. I did glue a few stones under there, but I wanted to add this brown battlefield ground. It's kind of like a gravel, and then some steppe grass, just to add a little plant life on there. I just used white glue and glued it onto the bottom. All right, so that's pretty much it. Let's check out the battle mat with the completed project. Looks like we got Captain Morgan and some English raiders trying to plunder this French town. Looks like we got some buccaneers and some filibusters defending the seawall and dock system. So let's take one more look at that seawall. And I'm really happy with the transition of colors I got here between where the glow of the lamp is and the rest of the seawall. I just want to show you in a sec here the spike wall. This is one of the other prizes that you can win for playing the English faction. There's some stone walls on there that also you can win as well. That's the new bastion that came out for the Palisade Fort that Firelock Games released. I got one of those painted up. And there's that stone walls I mentioned. So those are other prizes you can potentially win for playing the English faction. So let's get one more look at the other side of the seawall. This is the other section. Really happy how this project turned out. All right, that's it for this episode. Hope you guys all enjoyed it, and thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.